this episode, we go back to Calder Park for the third time in a row, and our luck runs out. We crashed the car not once, but twice, destroying the body kit. The track day was horrible. It was wet, patchy, the most sketchiest and frustrating I've ever driven in my life. Go check it out. Alrighty, the third time we're at Calder Park Raceway. Now, this day was quite sketchy. We had a massive downpour of rain, and the night prior there was a drag night, which means that the track is riddled with oil and VHT from the drag racing. Now, with VHT and oil, obviously, once you touch a little bit of water on it, it just becomes slipperier than ice. It is wild. As you can see here, the car is just understeering everywhere. And we're just trying to really work out how to drive this track in the wet. The only wet training that we did have in previous track days was from Winton. Now, Winton in the wet is totally different to Calder in the wet. Calder is much more slipperier. But the fact that we have knuckles now, we can actually save the car, as you can see there, just down on the bottom bowl. We're able to basically wind that lock right on and save the car continuing around through to the S's. This track day was a little bit sketchy, but we are in B class, so the drivers that we are driving with, are quite consistent to a degree, so we have a little bit of confidence to actually throw the car in. Unfortunately, in this track day, we actually have banged up the car quite a bit, not because of driving, I guess, beyond the level that I'm confident with, but wow, really? But it was that wet patch right there after the wall. That's where the drag racers spray VHT on their tires to go down the strip. Now, in the dry, VHT is like glue, but when it gets wet, it basically turns into slippery silicon ice mush. It's horrible to drive through. As you can see, the track is extremely patchy. It did start to dry up towards the end of the day, but then towards the late afternoon, we did receive a little bit more rain. So the whole day was just entirely sketchy, and this was the first time that I actually felt quite a bit of frustration whilst driving the car. When it was dry like this, I was quite happy because I knew the level of grip the car had coming off the back of the previous track day, where it was quite a dry Calder Park event. So we were very, very used to having that correct amount of grip that we're familiar with. But the moment any sort of element of rain came into the equation, our frustration set in. Now that we have some consistent drivers in front of us, it was, I guess, my goal for the day to try and get close to people whilst drifting, especially around the bowl here, because the bowl is like the main spectacle. You want to be up on people's doors, you want to be driving nice and close to them. So I basically spent majority of this track day just learning how to be comfortable when tucking into someone in a tandem. Not that we got, not that we were touching people's doors and we were doing a phenomenal job. We were very, very far from it. But essentially, the whole goal for the day was only just to kind of familiarize myself with the front of the vehicle, how close I can get, and also how consistent I can be with my inputs on the steering wheel whilst creeping up on someone's door. So this track day, we ended up getting about 4 or 5 sessions in. So we did actually get quite a bit of driving. But as you can see, the track was dry and now we have rain on the windshield. So it was a very on-off day with the rain. So it made the track super inconsistent. As you can see, drivers are still struggling with that bowl, especially with that patchiness. It really, there's no real way to explain it other than it's like driving on ice. You know, people may understand what driving on ice is referring to, but until you feel the front end of your car slip out from underneath you whilst you're doing, you know, 20 kilometers an hour and just turning, not even drifting, it puts a little bit of fear in your back pocket where you just aren't really that confident. So for this session we had CJ in the car and he was just basically along for the ride, here to have a little bit of fun. We didn't really take anyone out that was basically giving us pointers for this day. This day was mainly just get a couple of friends in the car, have some fun, and yeah, have a little bit of a send. So in weather like this, you can find that nice dry line through the bowl at Calder Park, but unfortunately you need to be on that exact line. If you have any variation in your line coming into the bowl, especially exiting the bowl, you will most definitely hit the wet patch and you will spin, and unfortunately you will hit the tire barrier. So as you can see, the rain is pouring on here. We are chasing our mate Ben. Now, this is the lap where unfortunately we did have that second crash for the day. We had one earlier on in the rain, and then we also had one here. Looking back at the footage, you can definitely see that the track is really not optimal for the speed that I was entering, because as you can see, I sort of come out wide here and wash right out. I'm on the wrong line and... and we crashed. So because we had a good mate in front of us, Ben, I really didn't want to slam my car into his, so we opted for running a wider line, putting ourselves into the tire barrier, basically just saving his car, so we're both able to drive for the remainder of the day.
Once you get past
Now, tire barriers aren't that bad to crash into in comparison to concrete walls, but they still do quite a bit of body damage to your vehicle. If your wheel touches a tire barrier at all, you can 100% expect mechanical damage. But fortunately for us, we just plumbed the back of the car straight in. I think we bent the exhaust pipe, and that was about it. In this session, we ended up taking Scott out, and Scott was giving us some pointers, as I was still a little bit unconfident in driving in the wet and unsure on how much to commit. That was probably one of our better laps of the day. And it's no surprise, we always get a good lap in whenever I'm pushed in the passenger seat, whenever someone's yelling at me, telling me to do something. And especially when it's your best mate, sort of going, you know, stop being a pussy, you'll be fine. But this was the final lap for the final session of the day. This sort of wraps up our video. Thank you everyone for dropping past for this track day rewind episode, and the next one will be out very shortly. Enjoy the rest of your day.